My name's Melissa Avera, and I love being a realtor. I specialize in real estate in the DFW and surrounding areas, and I also grew up here, so I'm very familiar with the Metroplex. Buying or selling a home can be an extremely stressful task, so I really try to go the extra mile to take that stress out of my clients' hands.
This is Going the Extra Mile. Now, from Frito Nation Productions in the Caddo Office Reimagined Studios, here's Melissa.
Hey everybody, Melissa Avera here. I'm back in the studio with Eric Tomlinson with Supreme Lending, and we are here today to give you guys an update, really, of what's been going on in the real estate market, to some degree on a national level, but for the most part, a local update of what you can expect to come in coming months in the DFW market. So let's just jump right in.
Let's do it.
So from a national standpoint, new home sales actually increased. They jumped 7.2% in January, and that's up for the second month in a row. And what's even better is the median price is less than a year ago. And inventories have made pretty significant gains in the last several months. So what that means is now we have more of a supply. Nationwide, I think it's approximately about an 8-month supply. So the good news there is that's giving buyers way more options. So they're not just having to, last year, so many people, there was such an inventory shortage, and I felt like a lot of people are just settling, for something because they need a place to live. And I'm grateful to see that starting to go away, where buyers can now be a little bit more choosy or get what they want.
Mm-hmm. Where is the most inventory in DFW, do you think?
Man, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, I'm seeing every day. This time of year, though, is when the spring, summer is when you see way more inventory. More people list their homes, right? Because it's a more competitive time. Mm-hmm. So I'm seeing it across the board. I wouldn't break it down specific by a county. Mm-hmm. I mean, I focus a lot in Collin County, but Grayson, Tarrant, and surrounding, and they're all daily. Because I have people set up on home searches. So I'm seeing what's coming up. And I have clients who 3 months ago, they would get one email a week with one home. And now they're getting 10 emails a day with different homes. So they're excited to kind of see that. I don't watch the news. I try to avoid it just because it's depressing. Uh-huh. But from a local standpoint, I mean, obviously our country is in and heading towards a recession. I mean, that's just, to me, blatantly obvious. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of people hear that and they just freak out. Oh, well, now's not the time to buy or do anything, so people just stay stagnant. And I personally think that the DFW market will almost be a mirror image of what we had, this year, of what we had last year. Mm. And the reason I say that is, even though with a recession, we're not going to get hit here in DFW as hard as other places in the country, for sure. I mean, home prices definitely are down. I think they've been down about 10% since last December, but that's from the peak we had in summer of 22.
Yeah. I want to comment on that because on my side as a lender, we look at different. I've watched more CNBC in the past 6 months than I have in my entire life. And because we're heavily affected. We look at the rates, I monitor the 10-year treasury. That goes up, it's bad for me. If it goes down, it's great because the rates are lower. The problem is, I may talk to you today and I qualify you on a scenario, and then tomorrow the rates go up and you no longer qualify. So I'm constantly going back and forth. Some of the reports that we do monitor, and it helps us anticipate. Again, I'm not a mortgage weatherman, and thank God, because the mortgages today are like Dallas weather, right? It's great today, and then it's snowing tomorrow.
That's so true.
And so all the reports I get are from prior months. So today there was a report that came out from January, and it said existing home contracts are up 8%. And 8 sounds maybe like a low number, but if you consider how many contracts that is, that they were only anticipating maybe 1%. The Fed, their main goal is to lower inflation, but when you have contracts that are going up, year month over month, to them it sounds like the economy is great, and so they have no reason to lower the rates. It's a double-edged sword for me, because I have programs that will be interest rates below the market. And so people will continue to buy, and rightfully so. I'm just hoping that there's some other indicator the Fed will use to lower the rates eventually. There's no doubt that they will. It's not a matter of if, it's when.
Right.
And so I'm going to talk about some products here in a minute that will kind of give you a cushion to have a low rate. And they're not adjustable rate mortgages, but for me, it's lender specific. I can give credits. I call it a lender buy down. Whatever your rate is, I'm going to just drop it 1%, and I'm going to take care of the cost. And that'll give you a lower payment for at least a year. If the sellers historically give, they'll pay for title insurance. That's normal. That's a normal fee they pay for. I'm telling realtors and buyers, don't ask for the title to be paid for. Just ask for a 1% seller concession. That could get you another rate drop, a full percent. This is something that I didn't offer a year ago, 6 months ago. This is very new, and this is how certain mortgage companies stay in business, because some of them don't offer this. We're okay to do that. And I think that, I hate to say this too, but every lender was probably overpaid the past few years, because we were just spoiled with infinite business. And now some of those lenders, they got really thin on their margins. They're no longer with us. And I don't know which ones those are, but I'm starting to get more traction because there's less competition, which is great. But I still have to battle the rate war. When people see rates are high, they're a little less motivated, and that's okay. That actually helps the other buyers, because I think sellers are aware that there's less competition with higher rates, and so they might be more flexible. And that's when you reach out to a lender like myself, because I'll show you how to use the money wisely. It's important. It's important to ask for certain credits, or it's important to use a certain lender. I don't mind being shopped. I think it's important when you buy a house. This might be the most important purchase of your life. You should at least get 2 quotes. And I would love to be one of those quotes. Every lender has their own niche. And I know that past 20 years that I've done this, I've never offered programs like this. And so I have to find a way to get that word out, that it's available. Because if I was looking to buy, I wouldn't look at the rate today. I'd be looking at the rate the payment that I'm making. So yeah, when you get buyers like that are unsure, you should always tell them to go to a professional, because the programs change just like the rates. I have to send out a daily email to some of my business partners to let them know, hey, I qualified you last month on this bond program that was offering a 5.75 rate with no points, and it was giving you 4% assistance. Today, it's gone. That program literally lasted 2 weeks from the government, and no one else would know that, because there's no commercials. And there's no marketing spend for the government to tell everyone that. So you got to rely on a lender that will keep you in front.
So it's like once they get so many people take advantage of it, they yank it.
Oh yeah, it's gone. So it's not an endless well of money. That's why you should take advantage of what you can while you can. There's some people that say they may want to wait, and there's nothing wrong with waiting. But if you wait till the rates drop, there's gonna be another bidding war, because the seller knows the rates are down, and you're gonna be financing more money. You might as well finance the less money today while the prices have flatlined, and then take the higher rate for a little bit. But I'll make sure that rate is lower, and then once the rates actually do drop, you can just refinance, and you have a lower balance to refinance, and a less of a headache for a bidding war, because the rates are low.
And to your point, like you said, when things flatline, and to me that's almost a perfect word to describe what's happened in a lot of places, and to some degree here, it's just not as bad. Like, I'm not concerned about it at all. But like June of last year, things were at its peak. It was insanity, right? Mm-hmm. And then rates doubled, right? And then it's just like everything kind of came to a screeching halt. Buyers freaked out. Everybody hit the pause button, and we just kind of flatlined, right? And then once January 1st rolled around, I started having more people just come out of the woodwork, because they realize, like what we always say, marry the house, date the rate. Like, no matter what the economy is like, no matter what interest rates are like, people always need a place to live. And circumstances are going to change, where somebody needs to move across country and sell their house. Somebody gets divorced. I mean, whatever it is, like, there's always going to be that need. So don't let, 6-7%, whatever rate, freak you out, because, in the 80s, they were way higher.
That's right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I talk to a lot of clients now that, you know, they're like, I'm not worried at all. I don't worry about, 6-7% rate. Like, I was grateful to have a 15% rate in 1984 or whatever it was. So this still seems like a deal, right? So
Right.
it's like, it's everybody's mindset, but for especially people who've never done this before, that I think that's where you kind of have to remind people, like, history it repeats itself
Right.
to some degree. And it's like the
It's
real
cyclical.
estate.
Yeah. It's cyclical for sure.
Yeah. The real estate market, I feel like every decade, it ebbs and flows. There's going to be like these super highs and there's going to be super lows. Like the great thing, right? Inventory's picking back up here. But something to keep in mind, and in my opinion, when home prices generally like really collapse, that's when we have like a massive surge in inventory and supply. And that's what happened in 2008 and 2009. We're not seeing that here in DFW. Like we have an incredibly strong job market here and population growth. So I just feel very confident that we will remain one, if not maybe the most strong market in the nation.
Yeah.
I mean, I do a decent amount of relocation, and I mean, I have
Right.
people moving from
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
The PGA headquarters, and they're making was it the Universal Studios now or something?
Yep.
Or one of those? Yeah.
Yep.
I don't even know where they're going to fit all this stuff, but
Oh, Frisco. Well, the other concern has been with Universal Studios. It seems like everything's kind of going to the same areas in Frisco. And so ever since Universal announced that, I've had a lot of concerned active buyers and people who have bought in the last few years in that area being like, do you think we should sell?
Yeah.
Because like, what is it going to be like in a 5-mile radius of here once this thing is built? Like, I don't want to be in the thick of it. So I'm starting to get more people who
yeah.
they want to move further out,
Yeah.
right? Get away from the hustle and bustle. And I think everybody's situation's different. Obviously, a lot of people are now back in their office, but I would say I feel like most of the people I know and the clients that I work with, they have so much flexibility with their job. Like they work from home at least 3, if not 4 days a week, and maybe go into the office on a Friday or something like that. So that gives them the cushion to, I can go 45 minutes outside of McKinney or Dallas and get something cheaper.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of things to keep in mind, but talk a little bit about from a buyer standpoint, like what some of these programs are and
Yeah. So one of the value adds that I have at Supreme Lending is we do a lot of non-QM loans, and that stands for non-qualified mortgages. And you're going to have a lot of people in this day and age that are, I don't know, influencers, right? A lot of self-employed people, and so they don't have taxes taken out of their pay stubs every month, and they don't qualify the same as a traditional buyer. So you're starting to see non-traditional loans follow. And that could be a bank statement loan. I can qualify you on honestly just on credit alone. There's no DTI, no debt to income ratio loans out there. So there's much more products. Again, I would always, if you're thinking about buying and you're unsure if you qualify, you should reach out to a lender like myself. You'd be surprised. If you have good credit, I can help you. If you have an investment property you don't think that you can afford on your own income, I can help you. I can qualify the house and what it rents for. As long as it rents for the mortgage, I can qualify you. You just need the down payment. That's another program that has become popular. I do I-10 loans. So if you're from another country and you don't have a social, there's ways to make that happen. And these are becoming more popular. And I do a lot of them. A lot of companies don't want to do them, and so they don't advertise it because they're strictly bank, government-backed loans. The rates aren't that much different than where the rates are today. So I would say that you're going to see more buyers out there. And some of these guys who are doing cash buys, they don't want to do cash buys if they don't have to. You should do a non-QM loan. I would say outside of that, the bond loans are still popular. First-time home buyers, sometimes those interest rates are lower than the market rate. So I'm going to give you assistance, but I'm really doing it just because the rate is low. And when I say low, you're probably going to be in the low sixes as of today. There's going to be programs where you can be in the fives if you're in a certain area. Again, reach out to a lender about that. There's targeted areas. And I think that you should take advantage of all in the home buying process, especially if you're a first-time home buyer. There's a thing called Mortgage Credit Certificate, so MCC. That allows you a huge write-off. You should always know about these write-offs because I slowly learned that a lot of wealthy people don't pay as much taxes as I do. And it's because I'm not well versed in the tax game, right? So I need a better CPA. I do my own taxes, and I'm probably going to stop soon.
Amen. Me too.
Right. I mean, yeah. So I could save $500 to do my own taxes, but then there's someone else out there that would give me a return of 5 times that. So I would say take advantage of what you can tax wise on these mortgage programs. Mortgage Credit Certificate, it gives you literally whatever you pay in interest for the first year. You're going to take 20%. You're going to get a refund of 20% of that. And that helps you at the end of the year, but also helps me because now my debt ratio is lower. When I qualify you to buy a house, I can use that lump sum. Like if you get to write off $2,400 a year, I can say you make $200 extra of income on my application. So now I can afford you, $200 might be an extra $50K in home purchase value.
I mean, how often are you talking to some of these first-time buyers who they really don't think they have a prayer or are going to be able to qualify, and then you talk to them, and then lo and behold, they can afford $500,000 house.
I mean, all right. So to be clear, there's nothing wrong with renting, but there's also people that don't realize, I don't know what you don't know, so I have to talk to everyone as if they don't know anything. Right. Because I hear stories every day where the buyer owns a house and they don't, they don't know why their payment's going up, and they think it's the lender doing it. And in reality, it's the taxes. The county is going to assess your house. And yes, there's a problem if you escrow in your mortgage payment, it doesn't collect enough taxes in each payment, and the taxes come due. The mortgage company has to front that money, and they're not in the fronting money business, right? So they have to tell the buyer or the homeowner, hey, your payment's going up because you have to recoup this shortage. And it's a little things like that it's not on the lender. You have to be, as a homeowner, you have to be in touch with your county assessor and dispute those taxes if they went up too high. Or, maybe if you're really good with money, just don't escrow. Your monthly debt obligation is technically less because the mortgage company doesn't have to collect your taxes and insurance. But you're gonna have to pay for it yourself, and if it goes up, you're gonna have to come out of pocket a huge chunk. So make sure you're budgeting wisely, because if you don't, they'll notify the lender because we're on title. If you don't do it, we'll have to force place escrow on you, and the lender the servicer will pay that money up front, but you're gonna have to pay them back in a short period of time.
I've had several people over the years, and it's almost comical at this point. I expect at least 2 calls kind of towards the end of the year when they get their statements and all this stuff. And then they'll say hey, you owe $8,000 for taxes, all this stuff. And then they call me and they're like, oh my God, I just got a bill for $8,000. Right. It's 2 days before Christmas. What is this? And I'm like, hey, if you look at the very bottom of it, it says Supreme Lending or Wells Fargo, whoever's servicing your mortgage, right? It's already paid for, right? It's in your monthly payment. Yeah. But, people, you don't know what you don't know.
No, I agree. I see it too. And I think that there's a opportunity. Well, a lot of people don't want to refinance right now because the rates are high, but you can get a home equity line of credit if there is any issue with shortages, or even if you have credit card debt, you're paying 20%. There's no need for that. You can still refinance or get a HELOC is what they call it. That'll help. I have friends that used to be in the industry. They just found themselves in this situation, and so they don't know what to do. You can get a line of credit and not touch your current mortgage, or you can blend them together if it makes more sense. But you're going to see that. I mean, the payments are going to go up, and these aren't adjustable rates. It's just it's the double-edged sword. The house went up in value. Congratulations, you have equity. The bad news is you're going to have to pay more in taxes because it's worth more.
It's always a trade-off.
Always.
So just keep in mind, guys, the housing market insanity always starts to creep back up, and there's more competition. Just, a lot more people in the market I would say really starting now, like once beginning of March rolls around through the summer, it's always more competitive. So if you are serious about buying, I wouldn't wait. I would go ahead and get pre-qualified and get the process started to try to find a home before school is out and try to avoid being in like the multi-offer competitiveness crazy market.
If you have questions about buying, selling, renting, or investing, don't go at it alone. Reach out to Melissa at 214-280-4317 or melissa@melissamovesdfw.com. You can find out more about the Melissa Avera Realty Group at TVG by visiting melissamovesdfw.com. Thank you for listening to Going the Extra Mile.